All right.
All right, we are live. And all right, I hope everything works right now. Sorry, buddy, that we're running a little late, but we're here. And just want to say welcome to the Rude Horror Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus. And today is going to be an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign episode. My guests today are Charles D. Lincoln and Chelsea. I hope I said everyone's name right.
Chelsea LeSage, unless you're anywhere else in the
Welcome
world.
to the show, everybody.
Hey there. Hi. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Of course, no problem. So, Charles is the director and writer of
Mm-hmm.
Bishop's Cove, which is the new Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign film that's being worked on. And Chelsea is also an actress in the film and also, I think, writer as well, right?
No, producer.
Just producer. Okay.
Yeah. Co-producer. Yeah, we were producers
Yeah, so
together.
we're CL Square Productions, and we basically made this baby come to life together. Yeah.
Awesome. And this isn't your first film together. I think there's another one called Teresa and Allison,
Yes.
which is like a vampire film.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I've been told that it's the goriest vampire film that that people have ever seen, and I know personal people who I would consider strong stomached who have thrown up and had to leave because of it. So we're very proud of the work we make.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. I got to watch Bishop's Cove of somewhat, and I was not expecting just the violence and the torture and the the gratuitous nudity, but
I wouldn't say it's gratuitous though. Like, I feel like there's a lot of nudity, but I feel like the nudity is all like it reflects on the plot, really.
So as someone who can counter Charles with that and not necessarily be on your side as opposed to his, but it's gratuitous nudity. Yes, there's a ton of nudity, but I think that it kind of falls in line with the things that we've done in the past, including Teresa and Allison, where I remember one of my favorite reviews of Teresa and Allison was that there was so much nudity that you forgot that people were nude. And then it just became about like the essence of who they are and who the characters were. And that's
then that stops being gratuitous then.
No, that's the whole point. So it's like you normalize the nudity.
Yeah.
And that's how I have dealt with like watching Bishop's Cove.
Yeah. Gratuitous would be, for me, like gratuitous would be like if we, like if just randomly, like, Heather's taking her top off when there's no need for her to be nude. Like if she's just,
But we have a viewer who says it's gratuitous, so I can agree with that. I can see that.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're going to have to deal with a lot of viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some scenes like where the couple is getting out of bed. Is there a lag?
There's a little bit of lag,
Gosh,
but it's fine.
I just love technology. There's like a scene where there's a couple in bed and they kind of get up in the morning and they're nude. So I guess that's like just kind of a little bit of some nudity scenes where it's just like a natural scene, not necessarily just like hey, let's party. I'm gonna take my top off or something.
Well, yeah. For me, like as a writer and as a director, every scene where someone is nude is a scene that I felt that the scene would not have worked as well if someone was not.
And I feel like, yes, I agree with Charles very much so. Where when I first heard of Charles D. Lincoln and he had posted on casting networks for roles that required nudity, I was like, why does everything this guy write posts a breakdown for require nudity? And then I got to know him and I realized the method behind the chaos that is this mastermind, this evil genius. And it is true that even though people may disagree, every time that someone is nude, there is some sort of reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had actors who aren't comfortable with things and we change that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that like what you're talking about, the scene with Heather and
Kristen,
it's just, it normalizes nudity. Like
mm-hmm.
I don't sleep with clothes on,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so everything has its purpose.
Right.
It's one of the things when we were
Yeah,
shooting
most
Teresa and
definitely.
Allison. When we were shooting Teresa and Allison, it was one of the things that we spoke about, how it's a giant pet peeve of mine when people, like after, say, a sex scene where people have the blankets all like up to here, because no one ever does that after sex. And so many movies do it, and it bothers me because it's so unnatural. And so I wanted everything it said that was in this. I felt that, I mean, we don't have like, girls in like panties doing pillow fights or anything like that. Like
It's
that
not
I would
Piranha
consider.
3 Double D.
Yeah.
Which we just watched the other
Yes,
day.
we just
and
watched.
we
Yeah.
just watched the Piranha movies and they're hilarious.
Yeah.
This
That's a lot
film
of
is not campy by any means.
It's
It's
what?
like a total opposite of like this is like a total opposite of a campy movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that I mean, as an actor, of course, you get the gift of playing so many different people, right? If you're lucky enough to work as much in different like roles in different genres. And myself as an actor, if I were to like go through the gamut of every character I've ever played in my entire life, I don't think that any of those characters would view this movie and view it as campy in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
There is nothing campy about it. I think that it's just unlike anything that I've ever seen. And that's why we just strived and worked so hard to make it exactly what was in Charles's weird, brilliant, like demented mind. Yeah.
I was reading somewhere where this film is kind of like Silent Hill-esque, and I could totally get those vibes. And I feel like as much as like this is something that could possibly fit in the Silent Hill universe, I think the vision of this film goes deeper into where big budget studios would go.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys, take things a little bit further than, what big budget studios would go for, and seeing something like that happen and seeing something like that happen in the indie horror scene, I just think it's fantastic, man.
Well, thank you. Honestly, the funny thing is that when I first was conceiving the story, you mentioned Silent Hill. One of the reasons why Heather is nude in the hell scenes was Silent Hill 3, me playing it, and my whole thought was, well, how would this be even more horrible?
Right.
And it was like, what if you were nude during this?
Yeah.
And that's where it was like, oh my God, like if you just now, you're already in a vulnerable position. There's already these horrible things coming at you. You're already in this, rusty and dirty and disgusting, other dimension. And if now you suddenly have no defense, if there's suddenly no defense for you, because, that's the thing is clothing is such, especially in Western culture, clothing is such a shield. It's such armor. It's how we define ourselves. It's how we protect ourselves. It's how we, just cover ourselves and make ourselves less vulnerable. And in my whole thought was in a hellish dimension where it's purposely trying to go and get at your insecurities and trying to get at everything that makes you weakest. That's why I thought, well, then the characters that would be present in it would be nude, because that would make things even, because it's the visual of it is, it's disturbing as it is, but you add that extra little bit and it becomes so much more.
And then to piggyback off of that, like most of the like actual demons or whatever you'd like to call them in the hell scene are also nude, you know, and I think for the most part.
Well, yeah.
And I think that that's really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost a sense of you can see people at their most vulnerable when they're nude. So just to kind of add to that little bit there.
I
and
hate
then
that there's a lag.
also you mentioned.
I'm so sad.
I'm not getting a little signal on my side, but anyways, to kind of even add on to like the whole foreign aspect of like nudity in films, I seen on your other film, Teresa and Allison, I think one of the foreign posters, you almost had to put clothes back on them. Was that something that that someone else had just made up for the poster, or is that something that you guys really had to do a cover up so that you could play in foreign films or play in foreign countries?
Gosh, I don't remember what the 2B poster is at this point.
So I would say no, that we had nothing to do with that. In order to be like put on certain platforms, they would all make up their own version of the poster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if there's like some foreign like poster that I have never seen, please send it to us.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what are you even talking about? I don't even know.
I just wonder if it's like, if you ever seen like the really bloody Princess Bride poster that just, it's like Andre the Giant is like eating people and all that. I'm like, none of this is even in the movie, but it's on the poster. So I'm sure that there's probably alternate posters that we aren't aware of.
When we first went up on Tubi, it was completely like not our design, not our or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there are others out there.
Yeah.
And we have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But good for artists. Like, good for you. Thank you for having our movie in places. That's what I have to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Jeez. I'll send you the picture of what I saw, but yeah, there's it's still the cover of Teresa and Allison, but they're all fully clothed with like purple shirts on.
Have you seen that?
No.
What?
I'd be very curious to see that. That
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll find the picture again, because just searching images for like the promo of this episode, I came across that one. I'm like, oh, they must have had to do that for like one of those foreign countries that you show too much skin or something.
Yeah, that sounds like a conversation that we might have to have with someone afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
also, we are much more lively than we are right now. It's just the lag, I feel like, is a big thing. But we're doing great.
Right. Yeah.
This.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll deal with it. Yeah.
That might be something I have to. So I apologize to the viewers and the listeners when I have the audio version of this ready. I don't know. I thought I had everything set up right.
You're doing great. We got this. Teamwork
makes the dream work. It's just the connections.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. And like I said, let's carry on. We can
carry on my way.
Okay, now I'm sure we owe like there's a journey.
Right,
money.
We'll make it through.
Probably.
I don't know if I have the rights to that song.
Yeah.
But, anyways.
Hey, I ruined everything. At least it'll get viewership, and they'll sue us and not you. So.
No.
I don't actually even know who says that.
So tell me about the Indiegogo campaign for Bishop's Cove. I'm sure everyone wants to hear about, like, you know, what is the Indiegogo campaign, and, like, you know, what can people do to contribute to the film?
Sure. The film itself it's shot. It's, principal photography is done. This is basically for post-production, for sound design, for VFX. Because, I mean, you see it's all practical effects in the film, but we're doing, not even sweetening. Like, there's some times where it's like, oh, that wasn't supposed to be in the shot or something like that, and you correct it. And we have an amazing score from a composer named David Denyer.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's basically that, there's all this, a lot of people, I guess indie filmmakers know this, but a lot of people outside the indie filmmaking world don't know that once you're shot the film and you've edited it, there's so much more work that has to go into it.
Yes. And we have had people try and come in and I guess try and make the film not exactly the vision that we wanted. And we shot all of those people down. So really the reason that we have this post-production campaign is because it's just our vision. Exactly. It's exactly what we wanted from shot to shot, from beginning to end. And so it's just making sure that the people that we hired, who we love and trust, who are giving us our time or their time and their talent, that they are all paid.
Exactly.
And that we have this really, can I swear on this show?
Hello?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, we can curse? Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Oh.
So the most fucked up film that I've ever seen.
Yeah, you can fucking cuss on here is what I'm trying to say.
That's great.
Fuck yeah.
So this is Bishop's Cove is, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a co-producer on it or because I'm the antagonist, which was also I feel like the Nameless, who I play in this film, is a different kind of demon antagonist that you've never really seen before in any horror anything. I mean, she was definitely, I don't know. I still war with their pronouns. With this demon's pronouns, they're definitely a combination of everything that is important to him as far as demons go, but they don't exist or are not. I don't think there's ever been anything like the Nameless in horror.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but even if I weren't a part of this, I can separate myself and say with confidence that other than the original Carrie, which still haunts me every single night, I have to check my closet, make sure Carrie's not covered in blood in my closet at 30 years old. This is the most fucked up movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's definitely fucked up. But just to kind of add to your character, just even the contacts that you wear, and then just the demeanor that you bring forth on the camera. I was just like, man, she's playing a really creepy character, and you almost had no prosthetics hardly, I don't think, and just it was mostly just contacts, and then just you're acting, and
well, thank you.
Just I mean, I'm not saying that they're a creepy looking person, but just your performance.
I'm absolutely terrifying.
You played it. Yeah, played a terrifying character.
Well, one of the things is,
thank you very much.
As the film goes on, there actually is more prosthetics that gets added,
right,
more and more. But I think that the number one, the energy that Chelsea brings to the Nameless, it's this manic, evil, chaotic energy, and I think that instead of paying attention to, oh my God, her lip is, her mouth is split up to here, you're paying attention to this just the wave of dark chaos that's radiating off this character. And I think that, Chelsea is one of the people, I don't think anyone else could play the Nameless the way that Chelsea did. I think Chelsea brought just this amazing chaos and energy to it. And it's without, I don't want to spoil anything, so I can't really go too much into it, but that the fact that you didn't notice the prosthetics is good, because that means that, as I said, you're paying attention to what she is bringing forward.
I wasn't ready for all these fucking compliments right now. I'm like about to cry. Thank you both. I'm like, I wasn't prepared for this, but I appreciate it very much. So playing the Nameless was, of course, like the biggest fucking joy. And like somehow, I mean, yes, playing a demon is a challenge. And of course, Charles had a very clear vision of like what he wanted. We rehearsed it. And he is the first person to tell me, and he's not afraid of like the fact that I'm his co-producer, to tell me to change whatever in rehearsals, being like, okay, I like what you're doing, but I more like this, and I love his directing style so much. And so I always want to make Charles proud, but one would think that playing a demon is hard. I found the Nameless to be just so much fun and such a joy. I mean, I wish that the Nameless like could carry on in everything, and especially because I just came off of playing such a different character with Julie in 21st Century Demon Hunter. Then going in and being the actual demon was just such a blast. And I feel like he almost even normalized demons, where the Nameless had a personality, where that was so fucking cool for me. And then, yes, the prosthetics in the one scene where the prosthetics helped me, but not as much as Charles's direction helped me, where there's that one scene that I won't spoil, but can I say puppetry?
No, don't.
Okay.
Yeah, don't say it.
So there's one scene where I'm just full of prosthetics, but it was him telling me more so what he had in mind, that this is the Nameless's actual world. I can say that.
Yeah.
This is the Nameless's world. That was more important and more effective to me as an actor than the prosthetics were. And there were a shit ton of prosthetics on my face at that time.
Yeah. That was like 3-4 hours of makeup that day.
Yeah.
And that was just your face. Yeah.
But thank you for not noticing. We love that. Could have saved money.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil anything, but unless completely different character, but there's another character in the film that I don't want to spoil anything, but that other character was fucking creepy.
The Joyless.
That's all I'm gonna say. There's another.
We have her in the promotional art, so it's not like that's a spoiler. But yeah, the idea that I had was just that I wanted there to be different, because Silent Hill is an influence. Hellraiser was an influence as well. The Cenobites, because there are various demons with personalities and stuff, but I wanted the Nameless to be its own, but I also wanted the Nameless to kind of, to carry on the tradition. Now Pinhead has, Chatterer and, Butterball and all them. And I did want the Nameless to carry along with them, as she refers to them, her associates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
because I think that everything in the film represents a different aspect. Once again, if we touch on Silent Hill, every aspect of the other demons represents a psychological aspect of the lead character. And I won't say what they represent. That's for the viewer to debate and figure out. Every place she goes, everything she sees is all based on her own mind.
But I will say also that I knew that Silent Hill was such a big reference point and foundation for you. But I think that you just saying I think that's the first time that I heard the film from an outside perspective being referred to as something like Silent Hill. So. Yay.
Well, thank you.
But, with less fog, but the essence of the story, and there's certain key elements in the film that makes me think that this is something that could fit in a Silent Hill universe, and then really you could almost kind of branch off and maybe do different story aspects of the same universe as Bishop's Cove.
Well, everything in CL Squared Productions is connected, and we call it the
CLU.
the CLU,
Yeah.
the CL universe.
Yeah.
And so everything that he writes or that we
Okay.
produce exists in the same world.
There's a one conversation in Bishop's Cove. It's basically just an Easter egg. It's not something you need to know. You enjoyed the film without knowing it, but it basically directly ties it into 21st Century Demon Hunter.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll just say that
I like
someone
that
talks
aspect.
about something that's a direct reference to the novel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. And very cool that all the films that you've made and then possibly future ones are all going to be intertwined in the universe of
Yes.
CL Squared Productions.
We have also the multiple breaths of the joyless here, because these are perks actually as part of our Indiegogo campaign.
They are.
For executive producers, they can get the face, they can get the multiple boobs, they can get the certain wound that I won't spoil, but it's a gunshot wound. I won't say who gets it. I won't say who does. But
you didn't show it. You already spoiled it.
That might spoil things.
Okay.
Yeah. But we have all sorts of just cool perks for people, because that's the thing, is that like the initial drive to get the film made in the first place, principal photography, we could not have done that without horror fans, without people helping us. And this is for them. This is like, we are horror fans too.
I wasn't a horror fan until I met him.
Yeah, I grew up. My first movie I ever saw was Alien, and then I grew up with like Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist and all these, I've the one, how everyone has that song when you're a little kid that like gives you all these nostalgic feelings that make you think of childhood. And
his was
Ave Satani from The Omen,
The Omen.
Because I used to watch The Omen and I used to think, oh my God, I remember like wanting
Mine was
to
part
be...
of your world from The Little Mermaid.
But I remember I wanted to be Damien Thorne, like as a little kid. Like it was.
You kind of encompassed that. If Damien got to be like the most fucked up version of himself.
I don't have his powers.
But you do have his powers in a different kind of way. No, so I was not a horror fan, right? I was terrified. Like I already mentioned Carrie, and we're actually covering Carrie on Cinematic Autopsy, our podcast this week. And I still have to check my closet at 30 years old for Sissy Spacek, because she scared me that much. She scared me that much. It's the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. But so I was not a horror fan, and I auditioned for him for a role I didn't get. And then the whole thing happened where it was how I put a chair down in the audition room. I was auditioning to play an Irish vampire, and how I put the chair down in the audition room, he said, how you put the chair down reminds me of the protagonist in my novel. Will you pose for the cover of the novel? And then I was like, did you ever think about making this a web series? And then the next day he came to me with 6 episodes. And that's how we started working together. Yeah.
Well, the one detail you're forgetting that makes it even crazier is when you asked me if I ever thought of making it a web series, I hadn't. And so I was like, no, but you put the idea into my head. And then that night I wrote 6 scripts. Yeah. So.
And that's how we met. And that's how, so we did Demon Hunter, then Teresa and Allison, now Bishop's Cove. And it's all just been wild, where now we've I remember my point, that we were talking about the indie horror community, how we just have been so like blasted into it and are so thankful for all of them. And it's something I never imagined in my life, that I would just be like a part of this really cool fucked up family. Yeah. So we owe this to you, you fuckers.
Holy crap, there's a little bit of lag there. I didn't really quite catch all that. I'm sorry.
We were really nice to the indie horror community, and we gave lottery numbers. But yeah.
Right on. So I wanted to mention the cinematography of this film. I was quite impressed, especially with an indie horror film. the cinematography just looked amazing. All the shots just looked like I was watching, you know, like a bigger budget film. It did not look indie to me at all.
That's 2 words. That's Christopher By.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is amazing. I first met him, he was the cinematographer on Teresa and Allison. And you know, when we had the idea to do this film, I asked him, I was actually very happy that he was like, yeah, I'll be your cinematographer.
And he cut us a deal too, because he loves us.
Yeah. Because he does really big professional work, and just
everyone
amazing.
should hire him.
You know,
Christopher By.
Yeah.
No, he's the best. And I feel like also just when I'm not on camera and I'm just in producer mode and I get to see him, I get to see Charles as the director, and I get to see Christopher just working, how the 2 of them work together, I think is the reason that the film looks so fucking awesome. You know, because you guys just work so well together to the point where I don't think we'll hire, as long as we can keep affording him, that we won't hire anyone else.
One of the things that's amazing with Christopher is that, like, I will send Christopher shot lists, and he pretty much has so many of the same ideas, and we just gel on how different things are. You know, I mean, every now and then we, like, you know, maybe there's one thing he wants to shoot a different way, and then we'll try it, and, you know, or something I want.
Uh-oh.
Sorry about that.
My doctor called me. How dare she? How dare she check in on my health?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, like, that's the thing. Christopher is just an amazing cinematographer. He's probably one of the best I've ever worked with on anything that, I mean, the stuff that we produce, I mean, I don't think we could even get better, but just counting everything stuff we've worked for other people on, I still think he's in the top list.
Oh, definitely. So everyone should just hire him. And then again, going back to how him and Charles work together, they have an idea, they come up with an idea. They're both malleable if, like, one idea works better than the other. And then we wind up getting every shot within like 3 takes. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, and I love that so much.
And
we waste no time because it's indie horror.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing sometimes, I think the most Christopher and I ever did was 16 pages in one day.
I think it was more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, but that was a 15-hour day when it was more.
Copy that.
Yeah, but in 12 hours, we've done 16 pages at times.
Damn. Sounds like you guys are kicking some ass.
Well, we one of the things, and this is something, if other indie filmmakers can do it, I would recommend rehearsing. I know a lot of people don't have the luxury of doing it, but if you can, I've had so many people tell me that I rehearse more, you know, I do more rehearsals than any other, like, filmmaker that they've worked with.
Yeah, and I think that, like, coming from a theater background, like, if I'm on a set where they don't do that, I'm not scared by any means, but I'd much prefer if you could just do that.
Yeah.
Rehearsal.
Sure.
Because rehearsals where you also just, like, I'll never forget one of my favorite theater teachers ever said, rehearsal is just trying shit. You know, you don't want to try shit on a fucking indie horror set when the director calls action. You try shit and you're, like, surrounded by broken glass and chainsaws. It's not the time to try shit.
Right. It's like you wanna nail everything on the first end. Just get going, having to reshoot. You know, constantly.
Yeah. I mean that's why, you know, rehearsals are so important, because you work out all of the things that you need to work out. And that's why I can do, I mean, if we didn't rehearse, I don't think I could be in my, you know, 3 takes, because, you know, some stuff that we, you know, I mean, there's obviously stuff that we weren't able to rehearse, and some of that takes more takes. There was a scene that we shot with Emily that, oh my God, I think that was like, with Emily, Sarah, and Jesslyn, that I think was like 11 takes or something like that.
And that's unheard of.
Yeah. But that's because it was something we couldn't rehearse, and we had to, make sure we got it right that night,
Yeah.
So it was like 2 a.m. We're in the middle of Pennsylvania, and we're just,
And it's freezing.
Yeah.
They're nude. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it was like 11 takes or something. Yeah.
That stuff is rough.
Yeah.
But like, what I love most about Charles, other than his mad genius mind and his lovability, even though he guises himself as someone who's just a serious artist, is that I love how much trust he puts into his actors. And I can speak from that more so, I think, than most people because, well, we own a business together, and he trusts me to play some of the hardest roles he's ever written. But like where we were shooting a very important scene towards the end of Bishop's Cove, and we were shooting it at a theater company that I work for called Stag and Lion, and we were running a little behind, as you do, and we never rehearsed it, but I had this big monologue in Heather's ear, and I got one take, and you were like, that's it, we don't need another one. And that made me feel like a god. Just one take. Yeah. It's the amount of trust.
And as far as trust goes, one of the other things that I'm very big on is anytime that there's ever like been like stunts or anything like that, I will do it first just to make sure it's safe.
Yeah.
Even like say there's a thing with broken glass in the film, and just to show the actors that it was safe, I was rolling my hand in the glass to make sure that there, that, because I mean, with sugar glass and breakaway glass, sometimes it is sharp, and even though it's fake, it can sometimes really cut you. So that's why I made sure that I put my hand in there first, so everyone could see that that's a safe thing. Or when Emily had to fall, where I actually did the fall first, just to make sure.
So just so the watchers out there, the viewers, have an idea of how indie we are. The scene in which Charles is talking about where Heather just falls, it was in my spare bedroom, and we just piled up as much shit as we possibly could to get her from the tallest height and then to fall onto a mattress.
Yeah.
So that is why you should donate to Bishop's Cove, because it's literally just us.
Yeah.
Just doing everything with this amazing, fucking, I'd say, cream of the crop, best cast that I've ever worked with. Best crew that I've ever as a producer. Just such an honor, and it's all it's very LGBTQ, that's a big thing where I feel like a lot of horror movies that have a lesbian component, it's somehow campy, or it's something that's just a trope like Piranha 3D. Except for there was no lesbianism in Piranha 3D, but you understand what I'm talking about.
There were two girls making out underwater, nude.
Oh yes,
yeah,
of course. No,
yeah.
So that, how could I ever forget that? Wow. But so it's but it focuses on the LGBTQ thing, and then when you think about it being a horror movie, for the first half hour, it's a completely different horror movie than what it winds up being. It's a really, the first half hour, from people that I've shown the film to, they say that could just be its own film when you're dealing with the loss of someone and you're dealing with addiction and all that.
Yeah, it's in that dramatic horror, where you kind of Midsommar and Hereditary, and where it takes itself seriously. It's fucked up, but it's it's telling an intelligently told story. It's not, just, everything in it makes actual sense, except the things that are purposely not supposed to make sense because of dealing with hellishness and fucked up mind, things and stuff. But
people have said to me that because they were perfectly happy and content with this honest, telling of this battle with addiction. So this horror that is addiction, for the first half hour, and they were like, I know Chelsea comes in this, and I know she's like a demon, must be like a heroin demon, when they're high and they have a bad trip, she shows up. And because they were riveted by just the first 30 minutes, and then it was nope. So that's why you should donate to our campaign.
Right on.
It needs to do better and never lag again.
Yes, I agree. internet needs to be better. I don't know what the heck is going on. But kind of like piggyback a little bit to what you're saying. The film, like I guess like a good comparison, and I mean I don't think it's a spoiler because I mean people know this is a horror film, but it kind of has like a From Dusk Till Dawn moment where it seems like it's one, it seems like it's like a serious film, and it seems like it's something that could really happen, because there are unfortunately people that have an addiction, and this pretty much is like a story of addiction, and then the loss through addiction, but
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden it has a smoother transition than From Dusk Till Dawn, but it kind of has a moment where it's upside
It's a
down and it's
smooth-
like, oh like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
because I feel that the best horror is something that you can relate to, and even if it's number one, I want it to. It has a basis in reality. Like I myself, when I was in my 20s, was like a homeless punk kid, and I never, I grew up around addiction. My uncle did heroin. I had a girlfriend who overdosed. I had a friend. Cat was based loosely on a friend of ours who overdosed one Halloween night. And like so much of it was based on real life. And I feel that like that is, if you're going to really get into what makes something horrifying, and especially if you go into the supernatural aspects of stuff, I think the best way to start it is grounded. You start, because if you're just going off in some weird world and if she's a wizard at the beginning or whatever, it doesn't really make sense. Even with Demon Hunter we did that, where we started as grounded as we could, and then it's, oh, she has a portal to hell in her bedroom, because I think that like you want the viewer to not have that disconnect at first, because if you tell me,
I would even, I don't mean to interrupt, but I would even say that like that even when you get into the hell scenes and shit like that, because of the grounding that happens in the first 30 minutes, I would even say that the characters are still grounded in a way in the hell scenes, because one of my favorite things that he says about this is that it's all people doing the right things for the wrong reasons, and we can all relate to that, or know someone who can relate to that.
The wrong things for the right reasons.
Doing the wrong things for the right reasons in their own mind. And like The Nameless, I think, is probably the only exception to that.
Yeah, but it takes advantage of that, and it feeds off that, of people doing that. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, well said.
I'll also say that I'm also a big David Lynch fan, so David Lynch also was a big influence on this, and I think that kind of how David Lynch also starts with kind of the ordinary and veers off.
And I don't think I'd ever seen a David Lynch film until I met you, right? Yeah. This fucking dude is so fucking special, and like and amazing.
in a good way, right?
In a good way.
I wanted to mention because like I thought that this fact was cool, but your dad was in Last House Left, directed by Wes Craven. Speaking to Charles, did he introduce you to like horror films, or even perhaps or like even perhaps the film that he was in?
Oh no,
at a younger
he
age,
never
or
wanted
did
me
you
to see
find out
Last
about
House on
that
the
stuff
Left.
later?
He never wanted me to see Last House. He hated Last House on the Left, for one. My father, Fred Lincoln, who actually the 10-year anniversary of his passing was on Tuesday. He knew that I had an interest in horror. And so he believed in fostering whatever it was you were interested in. So if I was like, hey, I want to, if I wanted to see something like The Exorcist, he wasn't going to shield me from that. He was going to show me what my dad did that did in some way it spoiled horror for me a little bit. But when I was a little kid, he got me the old Starlog magazines that showed you all the practical effects and the making of. And
I've never even heard of that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think they stopped publishing in like the 90s or something like that. But
shit.
it was so I knew how the sausage was made all the way from like being a little kid. I remember my second grade teacher taking away the episode where the issue where they had the deadly spawn being covered. And so, yeah, like my father, he did not like horror himself. And he hated Last House on the Left so much. I mean, if you even watch the DVD commentary on, on when they have the villains commentary with him and David Hess and Mark Schaefer, he mentions me and he goes, "My kid tells people I'm in this fucking movie," and and he's just or when it was a video nasty in England. For those who don't know, video nasties were this list of films that were just banned outright. Mm-hmm. And the video nasties didn't get lifted, I think, until either late 90s or early 2000s. And when it came out on DVD, that's when it got lifted from being a video nasty. And they asked him, how do you feel that this movie was banned in England? And my father was like, "Oh, that's great. I wish it was banned everywhere so no one would see this piece of shit." So he was not fond of Last House on the Left. But I saw it when I was 16. And I saw it at the height of, that rebellious teenager where you don't.
How old were you while he was shooting it?
I wasn't born yet.
You weren't born yet.
I wasn't born yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to joke around in the family that because
I knew that.
Spoiler, his dick gets bitten off in the movie. We used to joke around that I was born because his dick grew back. But yeah, no. He and I were, it's teenage boys and their dads don't really get along. And when I was like 16 and not really getting along with him, my friend Tracy told me she saw it. And she's like, "Oh my God, you have to see this movie. It's so fucked up." And she's like, "Last House on the Left." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's the one my dad's in." And so I was like, "All right, fine, I'll check it out." And
did you know that his dick got bitten off at that point?
No, we didn't know that.
Well, that must have felt really good seeing that. If you weren't getting along with him.
I was surprised by how much I liked it. And I thought that like that movie has just this weird off-kilter sense of humor to it while all the most fucked up stuff happening. And it really matched my humor as a 16-year-old, really.
Yeah, I mean that, and knowing him for several years, that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he never tried to steer me away from horror, but he wasn't himself a fan of it. I remember when we watched Hellraiser 3 together, and he was, and when the groupie girl gets skinned, and he's like, "Oh, can we turn this off? That's kind of much."
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Fred Lincoln said that's kind of much. All right, so we know now that he had a wall or a ceiling.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, also his biggest problem at Last House on the Left, not only did he have a bad experience with shooting it, but he also was worried, and I disagree with him on this, but he was worried that the film would inspire people to really hurt someone. And I disagree with him on that because I think that if someone's looking to hurt someone, they'll be inspired by anything. I mean, the guy who shot Ronald Reagan was trying to impress Jodie Foster. So I think no matter what it is, people will find, if someone is determined to do wrong to someone else, they will find a reason to do it, whether you've created violent art or not.
Right. And even I would argue that, like, even more so that if there's someone who says, like, "Oh, this film inspired me to do that," because there will be a killer every once in a while who shows up where they're like, "Oh, this is the reason why," like Bishop's Cove, Seal Square Productions, Bishop's Cove is the reason why I'm gonna kill people. Like, that was already fundamentally something they could have done. Yeah. Regardless.
Well, yeah. I mean, and plus, I mean, honestly, one of the most violent films I've ever seen was The Passion of the Christ. And church groups were busing children in to see that. 3 hour a movie that might as well just be called Jesus Gets His Ass Kicked for 3 hours.
I was raised Catholic and went through CCD, got
confirmed.
I cantered at St. Patrick's Old Cathedral in Soho until the pandemic hit, and the fucking like I was not allowed to watch the Passion of the Christ as a child, even though I was taught about it every fucking day of my life.
Yeah,
wasn't because, and I rewatched it as an adult, and I was like, holy fucking shit, this is a terrifying movie. It's so scary.
Yeah, and they were busing school children to see that in you know, a lot of like Pentecostal areas. And it's, you know, like I said, the movie is Jesus gets his ass kicked for 3 hours and it's your fault, is pretty much what that movie boils down to. And it's incredibly violent, but no one ever looks at that and goes, oh my God, someone's going to commit a violent act, because it is within the context of religion. So, you know, when
people commit violent acts because of religion, regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they have they have the mask of the Passion of the Christ. They can say it was because specifically the Passion of the Christ.
But that's the thing interesting. No one has done that.
Not yet.
You know, well, I mean, are you putting the idea in someone's head, Mr. Defense Attorney?
Yes, getting back to Fred Lincoln, like, I tell, like, you know, I explain just who Charles Lincoln is. And I, of course, my family, we grew up very differently than Charles grew up. So I don't go into the details about how Charles grew up, because they wouldn't necessarily understand it, or they would want me to run away from him. So I mentioned that his father was in Last House on the Left. And I was like, and the one character name that they always remember is always Weasel. No matter who I talk to, they were like, oh, well, Weasel, that's the guy that gets his dick bitten off. And I was like, yeah, that's his dad. And they just think that's the coolest thing. And I hate that he hated it. But then Charles didn't even get into film until after he passed away. Right?
Yeah. Because I spent most of my life playing music. I wanted to get into film, but, you know, my dad had an ego, and I didn't want to, you know, I loved my dad, but I didn't want to, you know.
Stroke his ego.
Yeah. Good thing that doesn't run in the family. But, you know.
I'm just imagining you with a child. God forbid.
But, you know, yeah, like I didn't get into film until later in life. And when I did, you know, I did want to pay tribute to him, and I did want to, you know, honor him. And it's one of the reasons why I go by the Lincoln, you know, stage name. But he always encouraged me to see, and I'm sure it sounds probably what you were like with theater, because I was raised, I mean, he would make us stay at the end of movies so we'd see the credits, because he wanted to emphasize to me how everyone in that film was just as important as the actors that you saw on screen.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was raised with this big, healthy respect for cinema. As I said, you were more with theater. You know, I never really saw plays as a kid, you know, but film, every weekend we'd go to the movies, and it would be, you know, he'd talk to me about the cinematography and the special effects and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, and like, oh, I've worked with that guy, and, you know, and so, you know, all of that was, and as I said, the Starlog magazines, they were just so educational as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, especially when stuff like The Thing came out, and you saw, you know,
how The Thing was made.
Yeah, the real time of all the practical effects that we used for that, or American Werewolf in London, and all these great films from when I was a kid. So yeah, I mean, he didn't introduce, well, I guess he did introduce me to horror by taking me to Alien, but when I just had a natural inclination towards it, and he never tried to squash that, which I'm very thankful for.
Right on. And what's kind of ironic is, you know, he wasn't a Hellraiser 3 fan, and then yet in Bishop's Cove, there's definitely some Hellraiser-esque stuff going on.
Can we tell him the pinhead and what her butt was, the inspiration for the name was?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'll say, and here's the thing I'll say, is that I think my dad would be super proud I made this movie, and he would probably hate it. he would probably be like, oh my God, it was so fucked up. You know, I hate movies like that, but I'm really proud that
But
you made it.
speaking of, so like, let's just say that Pinhead was a personal like inspiration for me a little bit in a very weird way on this film. But if we go back to Teresa and Allison, I forget where we were at some horror convention. And
We did Days of the Dead. We did New Jersey Horror Con.
but I had just seen Hellraiser once, and I knew how important it was to Charles, and we were just promoting Teresa and Allison. And then I said, "Hey, our movie's playing," and you went, "Shut up! That's fucking Doug fucking Bradley." And I was just like, "Oh shit, oh," and then he wound up like being really cool and got a drink with me like the next day.
Yeah. It wasn't that you were talking to him. It was like you were like, looked like you were going to throw a flyer at him or something. And I was like, oh my God, that's Doug Bradley.
I would have.
Don't throw a flyer at him.
I would have. And then he bought me a drink. He was a really cool fucking dude.
Yeah. Yeah, we met so many cool people and that's one of the things that we're very much looking forward to. And it's another reason for the Indiegogo campaign is we love the festival circuit. We love the HorrorCon circuit. And, you know, it's such a wonderful family. And we get to, not only do we get to meet all the really cool, you know, people from films that, you know, inspired me and that Chelsea's, you know, now, you know, really into, but it also like we get to meet fans. We get to meet people, you know, like when we showed Teresa and Allison and people were just asking me about the lore and what happens after the film and all that sort of stuff. Like I loved being able to have those conversations with fans or people, you know, and just being able to talk about, you know, other stuff that we all share, that we all like.
And the horror circuit it's so crucial, I feel like, to any like dedicated indie horror filmmaker, because it's the only place where you are just surrounded by people who are just trying to do exactly what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
And you don't know who you're going to meet. Like I hang out with Miko Hughes now, who played Gage in the original Pet Sematary, the kid who gets hit by a fucking Mack truck. And hi, Miko. Oh, yeah. And he scared the shit out of me as a kid too. And now I'm just like, oh, now I wouldn't know him if it weren't for doing things like that. Yeah, no, and it's also for the film in particular. It costs money for us to put the film into these festivals. So, and that's the whole ideal around it. And you have it's the best. It's the best. I guess audience you can ask for is more people who just do what you want to do watching your movie. Yeah. And the whole idea.
And shout out to Midwest Monster Fest for Miko Hughes is going to be a guest at Midwest Monster Fest in Moline this September, so later this year.
Well, please give him.
Just want to throw that in there.
But yeah, we had such a wonderful time. Yeah, we had just such a wonderful time. And, you know, we would really love to be able to continue doing that with the, you know, in 2023, being able to show the film to more and more people and being able to expose it to more and more horror fans. Because like I said, this is a movie for them. We didn't, you know, you've seen it. It's not really a movie we made for like, you know, your average, like, you know, Mall of America crowd. We made this for people who are hardcore, serious horror fans.
Yes, most definitely.
Piggyback off of that, if I may. I've never said piggyback more in 1 fucking hour in my entire life. But so that's my new nickname, is piggyback. But so with my mother, right? I was like, hey mama, I'm gonna be in an Amazon TV show. Be the lead of an Amazon show, and she watched like the first episode and was like, no, I can't watch this, which was 21st Century Demon Hunter. And then I was like, hey mom, so there's this great lesbian vampire film called Teresa and Allison, and I came in post-production, and if it weren't for me, I don't think the film would have gotten made, which you've said. But I made sure the film got made, and my mother is a horror aficionado and loves vampire shit especially, and she said that she was like, holy fucking shit, I watched it because of you, but I had to fucking shield my eyes, and I can't believe that you made this. I didn't know people could just make shit like this. And so what my hope for Bishop's Cove is that it's worse for her. That she's somehow like, I can't watch this. That's my
Right.
goal. Someone who claims to love horror but won't watch shit that is the horror that we don't really see, that we feel is lacking in the actual horror community. And that's why you should donate to
Right.
Bishops.
Donate to Bishop's Cove for sure.
Yeah.
I'll definitely leave the link in the description of this episode. And how well, I guess from recording now, how many days are left? Like 20
till February
something?
10th, whatever is
February
that.
10th.
February 10th.
Yeah. One thing I'm not good
So
at.
there's definitely plenty of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely
please,
plenty of
like,
time to donate to the campaign.
I was going to make a mean joke. I'm going to do it anyway. Despite the lag in this podcast, do not lag in donating.
Right. Yeah, don't wait till the last minute. Definitely donate to this campaign. There's tons of awesome perks, ranging from like special thanks in the credits, all the way to like even being like an executive producer of the film. So there's a wide range of perks that you can definitely choose for your budget and
You can even
and be a
take
part of
home
this awesome
actual
film.
prosthetics.
Yeah.
Or you can literally just
Right on.
because Charles and I are fairly entertaining to just hang out with. You can just hang out with us on Zoom.
Yeah.
Just cool shit. Do it because it's literally just
Heck
the two of
yeah.
us, and we can't do it without you guys. We can't. And we're almost there. We're so close.
Right on.
And I'm sick of
There's like
hiding in my
DVD and
apartment.
Blu-ray perks too, right?
Yeah. DVD and Blu-ray perks, posters. You get to play Dead by Daylight with us. There's all sorts of fun perks that we have.
Yes. So
That's
please.
a first. I've never heard the Dead by Daylight perk before. That's cool.
Because I think it's so, it's such a horror focused game. And because, the fact that you get to, have Michael Myers and Ash and, I remember playing it and it's like, I'm in the factory from Saw being chased by Pyramid Head with like Jill from Resident Evil and Ash from Evil Dead, like on my side. And to me, I kind of love that. So, we kind of felt that it was like a really, since we're talking about how much we relate to the horror world and to the horror fan base,
It's the
like
entire horror world in one game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he's also really fucking
just
good
keeps
at
on
it.
growing.
So don't. I would say no. Buy that perk if you're like into getting murdered, because he's really good at it. If you wanna actually like beat me, choose me, because I'm terrible at it.
So I got to ask you both. What are you usually like? Are you a killer main or survivor main?
I can do both. I really get into it when I play killer, but I play survivor most of the time, and I usually use Michaela. When I do killer, I usually do I'm always bad with his name, but the trickster, the K-pop dude, because I kind of love the shooting the knives. But I've also just recently gotten into the knight, who is the last person they released, the last monster. Michaela I like because I love doing the hexes and stuff. So
is that the same? She's like ghostly and shit.
Oh no, that's the spirit.
That's the one I like.
Yeah, that was who you were playing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Before
that's who I played.
Yeah, before they had like Samara
Spirit
Sadako in there, they had her, and then they got the Ringu license, and so now they have two. Now they have two of them in there. Yeah.
I obviously like as soon as we get off of this, that's clearly what we're gonna do because I've missed a lot.
Yeah, I could go on about.
Yeah, I'm
cool
usually
yeah. Do you play it?
Yeah. But me and my wife both play it actually. She plays
cool.
it more than me. I was huge into it for a while. I mean, I still will play it, but I've been kind of slacking on playing. But I can play both, but I'm usually a killer main,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on the spirit train. I'm really
Ah,
good with playing the spirit.
My man.
I
Nice.
love the spirit. The
Also,
spirit's awesome. Yeah.
oh yeah, dude, she's an awesome killer. Then also, I'm really good at playing Freddy. A lot of people get pissed off when I play Freddy.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, he does the whole
but
teleporting through the generators, which I always hate when I play as a survivor. Who's the one? Pinhead also. I've Pinhead requires a lot of precision to catch people with the hooks, but Pinhead's fast. Pinhead's really fast, and I like that. And also, yeah, everyone has the countdown with the boxes, which is I like to use the perk
Oh,
that
that's cool.
yeah, I like to use the perk where people don't know where the boxes are unless they're close to it. So
I've clearly missed a lot.
right.
And
Yeah,
hence you
I
should
mean
play
I've
against
played a
me
little bit
because
of the
you will
night.
win.
I'll have to I definitely need to brush up my skills on some of the newer killers, but the only way I can really play Freddy is with the pallet traps rather than the snare traps.
mhm.
Um but oh man, I can wreck some people when like they could barely get one generator done sometimes. It just depends on the
Oh, that's
game. But
awesome. That's awesome.
um yeah,
What,
and
what,
then I'll run into players that are really good and then just school me, and I'm just like, damn.
well, one of the things that I really like, and I think it's and this is just my own little Dead by Daylight advice. If you're going to play as a survivor, shadows, I think it's called shadow step, but it makes it so your scratch marks don't appear to the killer.
Oh, shit.
And that is, for me, I love doing that because it really allows you to play, stealthily a lot more. And the thing is, you can run and they won't leave scratch marks, and I kind of love that. It's a great way to get away in chases and stuff.
So there you go. Life
I
hack.
wonder
Good life.
how that would react to Bloodhound, where you can see the
Mm.
scratch marks longer and better. I wonder how if they,
It 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 actually
what counteract is to
yeah,
that.
it still gets rid of them. Yeah, it still gets rid of them, even if they have
So,
bloodhound.
so
Oh
Bloodhound
wow.
is like I assume because I don't know, but Bloodhound apparently like that's one of the perks of playing as Bloodhound that you see the scratch marks or the
Yeah.
footsteps longer,
Yeah,
and then they're still completely gone.
yeah, they're completely gone. But the thing is, with all the hexes, it's only a limited area. But it's yeah.
Oh,
I'm
I
not going to
see.
give a strategy I like to do because people who are killer mains might hear, because there's a strategy I love to do with hexes. Um, that usually gets me at least a generator or two without them being able to catch me.
I think I've seen you do that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like how people
Don't
people
tell
play.
them.
I won't.
Interesting.
But you know how people like play sports, and they're really good at sports. This is
Yeah.
his like. I'm really good at this. Watch me do this.
Check out this pallet loop I can do. Yeah, man. We'll definitely have to. We'll definitely have to do like another Dead by Daylight discussion at some point.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But before we take off here, I wanted to ask like one more question, and my
Sure.
question is, if you had to pick a favorite. Well, I think I'm lagging a second. All right. If you had to pick a favorite Universal monster or Universal monster movie, what would you pick?
Oh, I mean, if you're gonna go with Universal, then I got to go with Dracula.
Right on. Do you have a favorite, Chelsea?
Does the creature
Yeah.
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 Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah,
So
Creature from
the
Black
Black
Lagoon,
Lagoon.
Frankenstein, werewolf.
Yes, I'm all about the Black
Mummy,
Lagoon.
yeah.
All right.
What's your
This seems
favorite?
to be a popular one on the show. Um, so mine's changed, and I talk about this on the podcast and other ones, but uh, my first favorite was Dracula as a
Hmm.
kid. I just thought he was so cool and just the powers of what he could do. But as I got older, the Creature of the Black Lagoon is like one of my favorites. But I mean, I like them all. It's hard to pick one, but
Yeah, you just put us under so much
yeah.
pressure.
Sorry. You know, I think there was like one person that said the Mummy, and I was like, the Mummy? What the hell? Like that's so
You mean
random.
The Mummy, the 1999 like classic starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz? Then yes.
Well, yeah, um, that was definitely referring to like the Boris Karloff.
Oh yes, no. Okay.
Mummy was what I was thinking, but you know, Brendan Fraser's making a comeback. We just picked up a shirt, and this is funny. By the way, we went thrifting, picked up this shirt that has Brendan Fraser from the Mummy on it, and there was words on it that said "the Mummy," more like the Daddy. And
Are you kidding? I'm like,
thought
can
that
I
was
buy
funny.
that off of you? That sounds amazing.
He's great in
I'm
Doom
actually
Patrol.
wanting to like try. Oh, dude, yeah, dude. I mean, Brendan Fraser's just an awesome actor all
Mhm.
around. Like, just you know, I don't think that Hollywood really gave him much credit than what he deserved. Like, I felt like he needed a bigger push. You know, even back
Well,
towards the Mummy, and then after the Mummy. You know,
well, his career was derailed from think it was an executive who sexually harassed him. Something like that happened. I know he's spoken about it in a couple interviews. How he was kind of blacklisted because he refused to give into the advances of I don't know if he's an executive or a producer or
I
something.
didn't know
Yeah,
that because we
yeah,
all people wonder like where the fuck Brendan Fraser went for so long.
yeah, and that's what he says. That's what happened to him.
Well,
Yeah,
good for him. Good
yeah.
for him. He's a national treasure, like Keanu Reeves, where no one can say
yeah, most
anything bad
definitely.
about Brendan Fraser.
They're like on that list of untouchable people in Hollywood that's just like they're so fucking awesome that they can do or say anything and just everyone still adores them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not the first person that's mentioned about that shirt, and I'm gonna try to find a way to make mass produce that shirt because there's so many people that when I posted the picture, like, oh my god, like I have to have that shirt. So we'll try to find a way, and I'll send you a
You have to let me
message.
know. No, because I would literally that would
All
solve
right.
at least a dozen people's birthday presents this year. Would solve
For
so
sure.
much.
For sure. Well, as we wrap up the show, are there like any links or websites or merchandise websites that you want people to check out?
Well, obviously, we want them to check out the Bishop's Cove post-production campaign, igg.me/at/Bishop's Cove post, one word. Also, check out our podcast,
Charles
Anchor.
and Chelsea's
Yep.
Cinematic Autopsy.
Mm-hmm. Anchor.fm/cinematic autopsy, one word.
Mm-hmm.
You can check that out. We this week we're talking about Carrie. We spoke about The Wicker Man the last 2 weeks. Evil Dead. We basically look at it from kind of an indie filmmaker perspective and kind of dissect films, both for good and bad. We talk about things that we love. We talk about, hey, that makes no sense. We talk about all sorts of
shit
things.
Talk.
Yeah, if the movie deserves the shit talking.
If the movie deserves the shit talking.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, you can check those out, and
you can find CL Square Productions on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And then you can find me on Instagram at chelsea.lesage, LESAGE. And then you can find him on Instagram at charles.d.lincoln. And yeah. And you can also find Bishop's Cove on Instagram too.
Yeah, bishops_Cove.
Really? There's an underscore?
Yeah.
I should have that memorized. That's where you can find us. We're everywhere. We're everywhere.
We are the singularity.
Yes.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you for having us on.
Charles
thank
and
you so
Chelsea,
much.
for coming on the show. Had a blast talking to you all about your newest film.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
And we're so glad you enjoyed it.
No
it
problem.
felt so nice to
And then
actually
for the listeners on my
hear a
end,
compliment.
oh yeah. I mean, I think the film's awesome, and I haven't even seen like the final version of the film, so I can only speculate that the film is going to even be better than when I first saw. So yeah, definitely look forward to seeing more of the film. And I hope people check out the campaign, because I think this is going to be a great film, and especially for the horror fans out there that want to see some awesome indie horror. This is the movie to check out.
Thank you.
Thank you. That means the world to us. We're bad at taking compliments, but it means the world to us.
I sometimes I feel like I'm bad at giving compliments, so
No,
welcome.
you're killing that. You're killing the game. The compliment game, you're killing it.
All right. Awesome. Well, for the listeners on my end, if you want to check out more of my side of things, I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Rude Horror Podcast. We're also on Twitter at Rude Horror Pod. Or you can go to linktree.com/Rude Horror Podcast, and it gives you the links to everything, including the YouTube channel, and or the website, www.rudehorrorpodcast.com. There's the shop there, the list of all the guests I've had on the show, if you want to go back and listen to a particular episode.
You got merch?
All kinds of stuff. Yeah, I do have a merch site on there.
Do you have a Brendan
I kind
Fraser
of need to. I probably need to add that. I'll find a way. I can. That might be the hot seller if I put that on there. But yeah, thank you both for coming on the show.
Thank you
and for tuned for the next one. And no problem.
Thank you.